here at the Future Print Virtual Summit. I'm Karis Kopp. It's day one of the event, which is all about young guns in print. And we're really lucky enough to be joined by Stuart McLaren, who is the CEO of YPP Group, which was founded in 2011 when Stuart was just 21 years old. And there's been some incredible growth and innovation and success along the way. So thanks so much for joining us, Stuart.
No problem at all.
So firstly, let's start at the beginning. I believe you started out in print sales. How did you originally get into the business, get into the print industry?
Yeah, so obviously I started quite young, but my background was sales in the sports world. So I used to work for a company that now actually is across the road from my building. And through the story, I actually bought my old offices off of them later in my career and moved my company in and then moved out when we outgrew it. I started as sports and then kind of got headhunted to a company up in Leeds. And it was going okay. It was a weird time. It was during the big recession. People weren't spending money, and it was a tough old time. And myself and one of my old colleagues was working our way through helping it rebrand, and then there was a new MD. Different points of views, as always in business, and at that stage I decided to part company. Now I actually got offered a job with a very large charity because I'd worked with them so much on sports events and branding, and even before print time when I was working in the sports industry, and also got offered a job with Locog for the London 2012 games, 2020. Jumping forward a bit too much. So the 2012 games, and I was lucky enough to work on 2012, and it was a great experience working with that. But so that was the plan, and then I handed in my notice, left my job, had enough to cover like 1.5 months worth of living expenses if I didn't spend any money, and I handed in my company car. Got a train back to Lincoln and rang my mum and said, "Oh, can you come and pick me up from the train station?" So this would have been early 2011-ish. And she said, "Why, where's your car?" And I said, "Oh, I've left it back at Leeds because I've quit my job." And she told me to get back on the train and ask for my job back. And I remember it quite well. And it was like, I was on a good salary at the age of 21, and it was kind of like, well, why are you not keeping your job? And then I made the decision that print was going to be kind of where I went, but very different. I didn't want to do overseas manufacturing. It's never really been our model. It's been more in the UK. And also I wanted to work with sports events and live events. So I started my career there. Coming from an event background meant I had lots of cool contacts. So I was really lucky to do a tour with JLS, Rod Stewart, the official opening of St George's Park, and we did all the brand and image rights for all of it straight off. So it was great. Like my first contract, if you like, was looking after the whole image of the new Team England HQ at St George's Park, which was insane. Even still now, I still remember staying over at the Hilton and coming down for breakfast and having Wayne Rooney making a bacon roll next to you. It's still quite a weird, surreal thing. And then from there, we started growing, and YPP turned into more of a print-on-demand, quick turnaround UK print. Everyone before was doing flags on 7 days because I was bringing them in from Europe. We launched flags in 48 hours. Which really changed our model and made a lot of our competitors go, "Oh, here comes trouble," sort of idea. And that happened at shows, and that we always had clashes with other people that didn't like that we were expanding so quickly. I remember around table comments where I was using my printers as commercial printers and driving down the cost of fabric print. And I said all I was doing was creating a market where there was a slower demand for it, turning a market for it. And then we kept growing, and in 2017 I launched another brand called Santa Sacks. Seeing the demand for personalised gifts was crazy, and middle of July, we always knew at Christmas we went really quiet, and when you started getting to like at that stage I probably had 18 staff thinking that I'm paying their wages for 5 months with hardly any income. It's kind of like, oh, this isn't very good. There's not many sports events happening. There's not many live events. And we did Christmas campaign stuff back in August, ready for the shops to have all of their POS. So Santa Sacks was born. Now, that was a really bizarre conversation to have with my team. At the time, there was, who's now my creative director, Chris, and a few others, and I called them into a meeting and showed them basically a Hessian potato sack. It's the outcome of it. And I ordered 20,000 of them in the middle of July, and they were just plain Hessian sacks and going, we're going to do Santa sacks. And they're like, what the hell is a Santa sack? And I'm like, this is what we're going to do. So we launched a brand, and it was quite funny because we built the website and that. I was really excited. We came up with some designs for that. And we launched on Facebook, and they said, oh, you're going to be lucky if you get 500 orders for these over the month. And I did some advertising, and it was a bit easier on Facebook back then to do adverts, but we ran some adverts, and they came in on the Monday, and we had 3,700 orders, and the printer took 4 hours just to print the job sheets off. And all the staff were just kind of like, what have you done? Christmas is our relaxation time, and now you're making it as busy as the main summer. And through that journey, that year we sold all 20,000 sacks. Year two, we did about 45,000 orders. And it's still a big demand business, but now what we actually do later into the growth, your print partner grew into its new headquarters at the bottom of the city. We're on 36,000 square foot, 52 full-time staff. So the team's really grown in the small time that we've been together. And we launched a brand called Custom Gifts last year, which again was using the printers that we've got as more competitors get into it and trying to change their use. And that's what we've always done. We've never been, oh, you can't do it. If someone tells me that I can't do it, I'll find a way that we can do it and prove that we can do it. So we launched Custom Gifts last April, and it basically is personalized gifts. But what it does very differently is they're all licensed content. So we have 52 football clubs work with us. We have the master rights for Warner Brothers. We have Sesame Street just going live next week across all major retailers, including Next, and Funky Pigeon are taking that range as well. And we have so many major licenses. We didn't want to just pick up a mug and put your name Stuart on it. That's not what I wanted. I wanted that you have a Harry Potter towel that's all officially branded as Harry Potter, but with Stuart at the bottom in the correct font and is an official product. So that product's been really cool for us, and businesses adapt as we go. We have 13 printers on site. It's not an easy job to run a big factory, but definitely it's worth it. And I think with all the stuff that we're doing is all about not being inside that box. We never want to be in that box. We want to be the outside, or like ruffling the feathers of the outside of it at least.
Yeah. Wow. So that's an incredible journey in the last decade or almost a decade.
Yeah.
What kind of keeps you, that you could just, find a niche or an area that works for you and keep kind of plodding along, but it looks like you're always looking for the next thing and to move into an area that you identify as a growth area or a trend. What kind of drives that desire to keep going into new areas?
I think it's about being different. We were the first offering flags on 48 hours. Now we offer same-day dispatch on flags. And that's still our core business. Your print partner's about a £3.5 million brand. Our groups this year will be about 7 million. So it's still like a massive driving factor to be different and be the first. We don't want to be the one that copies. Everyone who copies tends to copy us. You see how many personalised Hessian Santa sacks are out there now. Just go on Google. We're still ranked #1 worldwide for it because we do it, and that's what we live for. We live to be different and create that wow factor. I want it that a kid wakes up on Christmas Day and they see a rocking horse with their name printed onto the rail, not just a sticker, actually part of the main product, or someone who's so excited about Sesame Street running down the stairs and seeing that there's a Big Bird beanbag with their name on it that's only for them. No one else is going to have that. And as you get more and more unusual names and people trying to be different with spellings and that, going to a shop and buying a personalised mug, that's boring and old. Why not have something licensed and creative and completely different? I'm guessing if you went into a shop, you wouldn't be able to find a personalized gift on a shelf off one of those keyring hooks or something that has your name spelt the way that it's spelt on there.
Sad memories from childhood when they'd always have my brother's name and there'd never be a Karis.
Yeah. And you go to the gift shops and you're like, it's going to be on one of these racks, I'm sure it is. And there never is. Well, that's where we're different. That would always be the case. We would always have it because we make it as you order it.
Yeah. And so what do you think, you founded the company when you were 21. Do you think that kind of plays a part in that? You're saying that you go to shows and they're saying, you're growing too quickly. Maybe they kind of sometimes view you as sort of a young upstart, maybe. Do you feel like that plays a role in your kind of ambition?
I kind of like to be the rebel in the room. I don't like to follow the normal rules. It was quite interesting because I was at a round table event and I got called the old person in print now because I've done 10 years in fabric printing nearly. That's like a massive thing, fabric printing, and it's more and more demand now for that product. So being an old person at the age of 30, being told that you're old with fabric printing, that's kind of like quite bad. When it got to the 30, that's classed as the old category. But I think a big part of it is having that drive to be different. We know that technology is the thing that's driving businesses forward, being online and everything. We look at it during COVID lockdown when so many businesses on high streets and that were losing so much money in that because they had no online presence, where the businesses that did have an online presence soared because people still need to buy things. Just because the shop's not open, they had to go somewhere. And that's where we've tried to be different. We have a trade division that is very successful doing large format flags, banners, signage. But we also have an end user division, which is not just a typical, let's put your name on a bottle, let's make it unique, let's do it with a licensed brand. We know people search for Harry Potter and that it's easier to sell a Harry Potter product if you've already got a fan base that wants the Harry Potter product.
So on COVID, I believe a significant portion of your work would have been in sporting events, and that's obviously most of those have been cancelled. That must have had quite an effect. How did you react to that, and talk a little bit about YPP's work during the pandemic in this period?
Yeah, that was really stressful mid-March. We worked with some of the UK's biggest sporting events, and literally when Boris Johnson announced we were going into lockdown, we probably had about £250,000 worth of work cancel on us in the space of about 2 weeks. And when you've got that many staff and everything, and furlough wasn't announced at this stage, and all these orders are cancelling, you kind of do think, how long can this actually last? Because with most businesses, you make money at set times of the year. Event season is a massive money maker for us because of the sheer volume of work that we do over that period. But then January, February is much quieter. So to do a lockdown straight after our quietest period was quite worrying. What we did differently is what we always do best, is we sat down, we looked at the best way forward for it. And the best way forward in this instinct was to launch a made in UK COVID response package. So we came up with working with lots of different people, looking at our industry capacities within our teams and linked businesses. And we had the sneeze screen. So sneeze screens was one of those things that I knew as soon as Boris Johnson announced it, that every shop that was still open, including corner shops, and that was going to need it regardless. Now, what I didn't want is an expensive sneeze screen. So there's all these people going out doing acrylic sneeze screens, big acrylic sneeze screens, and charging £3,000-4,000 for them. But shops were already struggling. They couldn't get them volume of people in. So we came up with a cardboard sneeze screen. And all it is basically printed a laminate card with a flexi plastic inner. And it was supposed to be a cost-effective thing. They retail at £25 each. So it was designed, it was all branded up with the government guidelines, keep your distance and everything. We ended up selling around about 15,000 of that product, covering the event work that we lost. And we're not talking about small corner shops. Yes, there was lots of them. But if you go in every co-op pharmacy in Lincolnshire and the Midlands, they have our sneeze screens. You go into every Laura Ashley store, they had our sneeze screens. And these were retailers and that's all holding their hands up going, we're struggling, guys, but we need to keep safe. Floor graphics, I've never printed so many floor graphics in my life. But I guess the two big winners for us was hand sanitizer. We were supplying frontline services. We chartered two 777 BA planes and filled them with over 2.2 million bottles of hand sanitizer for frontline and service teams. That was just another level. The planes were sat out overseas. We filled the planes and flew them back, strapped as many hand sanitizer to seats, to cargo, everything to bring those planes back. And the other big thing is our hygiene stands, which are still a massive seller now. And you can go into anywhere from a Porsche to a McLaren dealership, through to hotel chains, through to every KFC, Starbucks, and I believe Burger Kings now have got them all in as well, all across the UK. A product that's made in the UK, printed in the UK, supporting UK manufacturing, and now being delivered to UK brands. And that was a major thing for us. And on top of that, then we look at the other jobs that were going on. FedEx, for example, we supplied FedEx Global. So stands that were being made in the UK were being shipped over to Europe, to the US, to help them fight the COVID range as well. So it was all about being UK made and as quick as possible where we could. Hand sanitizer was one of those things that couldn't be made in the UK. There was just we couldn't get the bottles to start with, not alone the pumps. So that was hard work. But as much as we could, we launched our COVID range 72 hours after Boris Johnson put the country into lockdown. That helped us win some major contracts. Morrison's was a prime example. The bank holiday weekend, they needed roller banners to block down aisles so they could keep their stores open and keep people being able to buy food. We all saw the news where the queues were like 500 people long to go into Morrison's, and then when you got there, everyone had taken all the cleaning products and the toilet rolls for some reason. So that, with all of that in mind, they needed a queuing system. So we produced 6,000 roller banners in 72 hours and delivered them to over 152 stores from the Highlands of Scotland to Cornwall. So it opened up lots of opportunities that wouldn't have been our normal core business. But our team responded. During lockdown, we had our designers and that who could work from home. But our main focus was, how are we going to help with COVID? We supplied a lot of frontline PPE stuff, a lot of frontline floor graphics. And I'm not the only one who stepped up with PPE. There's plenty of companies out there and print industry did do. Some of them just closed. I have my own little troll, as I like to refer to them, on LinkedIn that says I should have shut. But as I pointed out plenty of times, if all our businesses shut, how are they going to get scrubs? How was they going to get face masks? How was they going to get acrylic screens? How was they going to get floor graphics and all the stuff that was needed for frontline businesses to stay open? If all the print businesses shut in the UK, and I'm glad to say a lot of them stayed open and tried supporting where they could. I know businesses that were using their big cutting machines to cut out face visors all day. They were producing 20, 30,000 face visors a week for the NHS front line. Obviously, in supermarkets, how are you going to go in the supermarket and be able to keep safe social distancing if you have no graphics to tell you where to stand and that's 2 meters apart? Those stores wouldn't have been able to open.
Yeah, there was so many businesses that stepped up. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was really great to see. And from your perspective, you're almost perfectly positioned for something like reacting to this crisis. You know, you're already an agile business that moves quickly and isn't afraid to move into new markets that aren't kind of your core market. Do you feel like that kind of gave you an advantage to react quickly to COVID?
Yeah, without doubt. You see the businesses that carry on doing the same thing. And as more competitors come into the market and everything like that, they just basically end up losing their business and then going bust. Unless you innovate and keep changing as the markets change and the demands change, you're never going to be ahead of the game. Yeah,
absolutely. And just to kind of change tack slightly and go back to, you started the business at 21, as we already mentioned. But do you feel that there's kind of enough support for young people, young entrepreneurs in the print industry? Do you have any thoughts on that?
There's a lot of things I dislike about the print industry. It's really weird to be in the print industry. I think the biggest thing for me is that I wouldn't say there is loads of support for young people. There's lots of support for if you want to be a printer that's just an older printer that's working with someone and being a sales rep or something like that. But for your own business, I don't believe there is a lot of support. I think there's lots of things that irritate me with the print industry as we develop and improve things. I think a prime example is actually the sneeze screen that we spoke about earlier, the cardboard one. An online magazine took my image of it and challenged all the cutting companies who make all the like Esco, Zund and stuff like that to copy the product and release the templates so other printers could copy my product when I'd spent all the time developing that, the resources and that for someone to copy it. And this isn't the first time it happens all the time. So I think people like that should, if they come up and said, can anyone innovate this and make it better and stuff like that, that's good. That's the whole point of business. But when you're challenging people to copy it exactly and then release the cutting guides and everything, I think that's a bit cheeky, because that was a lot of time and effort. And I've got jobs that rely on us selling products. Right. Not to copy us. I think the other prime example with that as well is I have to admit that CMYK and Kongsberg team decided not to release the templates because they could have seen the templates because I make them on that machine. And those guys were like, well, no, let's innovate. Let's see what other shapes we can make with them and develop it instead of copying the same. That always makes me feel more happy with those things. There's a lot of machine manufacturers out there that will give you advice on machines and that, but you've got to remember that all of them are trying to still sell you a machine. I think it's a very tough market to get into.
And what about, it's one of the things we're looking at Young Guns in Print is the opportunities and people young people knowing about print industry and it kind of promoting itself a bit better so that young people are attracted into it. I mean, all the stuff that you were talking about at the beginning of this session in terms of the sporting events that you were a part of, the really unbelievable, exciting things that you can do in this industry. I think people don't think of that. They don't realize that that's part of this industry. Do you think that's one of the problems in terms of attracting kind of quality people, young people into the industry?
Without doubt. The other big thing of it as well is, how do you get into the industry? Where's the apprenticeship schemes and that? Every engineering brands and that all have big apprenticeship schemes. Where's the ones for the print industry? Where's the ones that saying, if you actually think about print, you can't go anywhere without seeing print outside there. And you notice it more when you're in it. So it's really bad when I'm out with my partner and I'll be driving down the street going, who's doing that flag? And I'm literally looking up at the flag trying to work out how to drive down the street. And they're like, what is wrong with you? Or you go to a football game and you see the giant pitch coverings. All of those products have to be made. And they all come from the print industry. And people don't realise it. When they think print, they think black and white or coloured brochures and that. They're not thinking, oh, look at that giant banner. Oh, Rod Stewart backstage tour banners or the ID cards and all that. They don't think of that side. And there is a lot of exciting stuff in print. But people don't see it because there isn't an easy step into the market. And that's where the problem is, without doubt. If you had more exciting things coming into the market, then it would be more exciting for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And that's something we'll be talking about a bit in other sessions as well as part of this Young Guns Day, and hopefully things will improve and we'll get some better schemes and initiatives to help young people have kind of exciting careers in the industry. And just to finish off, it would be great if you had any advice or words of wisdom for young people who might be leaving education or looking at careers in the print industry, either as entrepreneurs or just taking that first step on the job ladder.
Yeah, what's really good with the print industry, without doubt, is you can actually run it from home. You don't need lots of money investment in that. You can do like personalized mugs on eBay and stuff like that, so you can do stuff from home. The other thing is, without doubt, I think it's one of those things that you can begin to love if you like graphic design and you like working with brands and that, and playing about. We're not talking little desktop printers. My printers are 7 meters long, but you get to play with the stuff. And I do think that when you start getting into it, you kind of start opening your eyes to so much more, with brands, with content, with major artists and stuff like that. There is so much stuff you can actually produce, even if it's down to like t-shirts. You look at all the little desktop t-shirt printers you can buy now, and you can create your own designs and print direct to t-shirt, no stock holding or anything like that. So someone buys online and you can drop ship in that. So I do think it's quite exciting that way. A little advice is, if you're going into business, don't go into business with a friend or family member. It's always a prime example. Or I would also go into, because a friend tends to like the same things as you, and you want someone who challenges you. Frustrates me every day, don't worry, because I've got stuff that challenge me, but it's for the right reason. Yeah. It's definitely a frustrating thing. You're like, no, I want to do it this way, and they're like, but, and then they have their argument, and you're like, but I still want to do it my way, and they're like, yeah, but it's not. So they're probably the main key things. But print industry is quite an easy market to get into. If it's anything from like doing stuff from home and little bits like that. And a prime example of someone who started in the print industry, and it's kind of print industry, but it's making his own products, and it's been in the news quite a lot recently, is Gymshark. You look at Ben Francis and you look at his YouTube video, and that he started with screen printing all his own design t-shirts, and now his business has just been valued at 1.1 billion. And he started by sewing, and there's plenty of videos online. He sews his little the Gymshark vest, and then he has screen printing the designs on that. Still print industry. He started with, because he decided he would print his own t-shirts, and then he's chose a different route, obviously, to now become a global brand selling t-shirts, which was where I should have gone, I'm sure.
He's still young.
Yeah, he's even younger than me. I think he's 26. But as a prime example, he started to create his brand awareness and that to start with, and keep costs down. He had a screen printing thing, and I think it's up in their head office at Gymshark in Birmingham. And it just shows there again, that's not necessarily, it was a start point that he created his brand and screen printed it, and then moved on to other sections.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's great advice. And I think another thing that young people could probably take away from your story is to just go for it as well. I mean, you're not afraid to try new things, and if it didn't work out, it didn't work out, but you've tried it, and in most cases, possibly all, it's gone really well for you. And
there's been fails, without doubt.
Yeah. But you have to go for it. You can't stay the same and do the same thing all the time. So I think that's certainly paid off for you, and hopefully that's inspired some of the people listening to this session. But Stuart, thank you so much for your time. It was really inspiring, interesting.